Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
We're bringing you an advanced lesson today.
That's right. An advanced lesson where we talk about investing in emerging markets.
Right. So it's kind of a business topic. It's kind of a world topic as well.
Yes.
And it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, it is really hard.
Right. So if you're listening and you don't understand everything, please don't get discouraged. Don't worry about it because we're here to learn.
Yes, and we're here to help you.
Right. Mm-hmm. So let's get started with this. I'm really excited about this lesson.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Marco, maybe you can tell us a little bit. What is an emerging market?
An emerging market is a market that is starting to develop.
Okay.
And it's growing rapidly.
So you can maybe give some examples of emerging market.
Well, for example, China is an emerging market.
Yeah.
In the last years, it's been growing rapidly.
More and more people are moving to the middle class and have money to spend.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. So China is like a really great example of an emerging market.
All right. Well, with that, let's listen to the dialogue for the first time.
Dad, I'd like to borrow some money.
Sure, Johnny. How much do you need? $5?
Come on, Dad. I need $30,000. I want to get into the market. You know, I'm tired of hearing all this news about the economic downturn, the inevitable recession, people stuffing their money in their mattresses. I look at this as an opportunity. This is a chance for me to get a jump start on building my nest egg.
I don't know about that. With all the uncertainty in the markets right now, it'd be a very unwise decision to invest. I don't know if you're aware, son, but there has been a lot of turmoil in the markets recently. There have already been 500,000 layoffs in the last few months, and we have no idea how the proposed stimulus package will impact upon the economy. There's just too much instability. I just wouldn't feel comfortable investing in this climate.
But look at it this way. Every challenge is an opportunity. And anyway, I'm not talking about investing in the domestic market. There are emerging markets that promise great returns. Look at China, for example. They have 1.4 billion people, 500 million of whom have recently entered the middle class. Here alone, the aggregate demand for consumer goods represents an amazing wealth-generating opportunity.
Oh, come on, son. You're looking at this too naively. The Chinese market has exhibited a great deal of instability, and their currency has been devalued by almost a whole percentage point.
Fine then. If that's the way you feel, so be it. But you're losing out on a great opportunity here. I'm gonna hit up Mom for the cash.
Well, it sounds like the dad has missed out on a really big investment opportunity, hey?
Yeah, his son is pretty smart.
Yeah.
Pretty smart little boy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we have some great words that we want to look at here. Mm-hmm. Why don't we start with the first one? Turmoil.
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 So we have some great examples of how turmoil is used in different sentences, so let's listen.
Example 1. With a civil war, a famine, and inflation, the country has been in turmoil for 10 years. Example 2.
There's been a lot of turmoil in my life recently. I've moved to a new city, I've changed my job, I broke up with my girlfriend.
Example 3. The devaluation of the dollar caused a great deal of turmoil in the markets.
So turmoil is a state of
uncertainty, of change, of difficult times.
A little bit of chaos.
Yeah,
also, right?
yeah. So, for example, when there's a lot of turmoil in the market, that means stock prices are changing drastically from day to day.
Right. Or the economy is in turmoil. There's a lot of problems going on.
Yeah, uncertainty.
Uncertainty. Okay. Good word. All right. And we also saw something really interesting in the dialogue about a proposed stimulus package.
A proposed stimulus package.
So a proposed stimulus package is something that's going on now.
Yes, let's break this phrase down. So we've got stimulus package.
A stimulus package, something to stimulate the economy, right?
Right, so money from the government to get the economy moving.
To get it moving, stimulus package.
Proposed.
It means that it hasn't been approved yet.
Right, it's suggested.
It's suggested, it's an idea. So the proposed stimulus package for the U.S. economy, for example, is $150 billion.
Right. That's $150 billion of American taxpayers' money that the government wants to put into the economy to keep it moving.
To keep it moving, right. So if it works or not, that's still a debate, but
yeah.
It's a proposed stimulus package.
Let's move to our third phrase, aggregate demand.
Aggregate demand.
Aggregate demand.
Aggregate demand.
So demand is pretty clear, but this word aggregate, what's that about?
Aggregate is like a combined, added.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Aggregate demand. For example, in a country like China, where cities like in Shanghai or cities like Beijing, where more and more people are accumulating wealth, the aggregate demand is increasing.
Right. The combined demand for consumer goods is growing.
Right. More people have more money, so they're spending more.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, Marco, there's a ton of excellent language in this dialogue, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, and we want to listen to the dialogue one more time. But before we do, we have 3 words for you that we want you to listen for.
Yeah, pay attention to these words. Nest egg.
Nest egg.
Inevitable.
Inevitable.
And hit up.
Hit up.
So, from the context of the dialogue, try and see if you can figure out what they mean. But after listening to it, we'll come back and explain it anyways.
Dad, I'd like to borrow some money.
Sure, Johnny. How much do you need? $5?
Come on, Dad. I need $30,000. I want to get into the market. You know, I'm tired of hearing all this news about the economic downturn, the inevitable recession, people stuffing their money in their mattresses. I look at this as an opportunity. This is a chance for me to get a jump start on building my nest egg.
I don't know about that. With all the uncertainty in the markets right now, it'd be a very unwise decision to invest. I don't know if you're aware, son, but there has been a lot of turmoil in the markets recently. There have already been 500,000 layoffs in the last few months, and we have no idea how the proposed stimulus package will impact upon the economy. There's just too much instability. I just wouldn't feel comfortable investing in this climate.
But look at it this way. Every challenge is an opportunity. And anyway, I'm not talking about investing in the domestic market. There are emerging markets that promise great returns. Look at China, for example. They have 1.4 billion people, 500 million of whom have recently entered the middle class. Here alone, the aggregate demand for consumer goods represents an amazing wealth-generating opportunity.
Oh, come on, son. You're looking at this too naively. The Chinese market has exhibited a great deal of instability, and their currency has been devalued by almost a whole percentage point.
Fine then. If that's the way you feel, so be it. But you're losing out on a great opportunity here. I'm gonna hit up Mom for the cash.
So the kid wants to invest because he wants to set up his nest egg.
That's right. So basically he wants to get a bunch of cash together so that he can buy a house or get married or whatever. It's that money you need to start your life, right?
To start your life, your nest egg. It's kind of a weird way of referring to this money, right?
I guess it is kind of funny.
And also the little boy talked about an inevitable recession.
Yes, inevitable.
Inevitable.
Inevitable basically means unavoidable.
Right.
So this guy thinks that the recession is unavoidable.
It's gonna happen.
Yes, inevitable. You know, this word inevitable, if you apply the root words, you can get a noun, an adjective, or an adverb, right?
Right.
So we've got some examples where you can see this word in action.
Example 1.
Jason knew he was going to get laid off, but he was trying to delay the inevitable.
Example 2. As a new manager, it's inevitable that you're going to make mistakes. Example 3.
Inevitably, we all die at the end of our lives.
So as you can see, the noun and adjective form are the same.
Yes, inevitable.
Inevitable. When we use it as an adverb, though, we add the ly to it.
Inevitably.
Inevitably.
Yes.
So yeah, as you can see, we could use it in many different ways depending on what we want to say.
Right. Well, inevitably, we have to move on to our third word.
Hit up.
Hit up.
So he says he's going to hit up Mom for the cash.
Ask his mom.
Yeah, hit up.
Yeah, this is kind of a slangy term, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more informal,
Yeah.
a lot more slangy. Yeah.
You wouldn't really use it with your boss, would you?
No, you're not going to go up to your boss and say, hey, I need to hit you up for some cash.
No. So, Marco, I think this word is only applying to money, right?
Well, you wouldn't go up to your boss and say, oh, I need to hit you up for some vacation time.
No, it's typically used like for money.
In this context.
Yeah.
Hit them up.
We've got some examples of the phrase hit up. Let's listen.
Example 1.
I'm going to hit up the boss for a raise.
Example 2. Are you trying to hit me up for money? Example 3.
I don't have any cash. Have you tried hitting up Sophie? She's rich.
Have you ever wondered where the next big opportunities are in the world? Not just for business, but for growth, for jobs, for new ideas? Today, I want to talk about something that might sound a little serious at first, but it's actually really exciting: emerging markets. These are countries that are growing fast and changing quickly. They are not as rich as the United States or Germany yet, but they're on the way. Places like China, India, Brazil, and Vietnam. These countries are building more factories, making new products, and getting stronger economies every year. Why is this important for English learners? Because the world is changing. Many companies are doing business in these new places. That means more chances for work, travel, and communication. When you understand how emerging markets work, you also improve your business vocabulary, your world knowledge, and your ability to speak English in real conversations. An emerging market is like a young tree. It's not very big yet, but it's growing fast. One day, it could become a strong, tall tree that gives fruit, shade, and life. These markets are full of people who are starting to earn more money, buy more things, and live better lives. For example, in China, millions of people have moved from villages to cities. They now have jobs in offices and factories. They buy phones, clothes, and even cars. This is what we call rising demand. Now, imagine you're a business person. Wouldn't you want to sell your products where more people have money to spend? That's why many smart investors are looking at emerging markets. They believe that these places will become stronger in the future, and if they invest now, they might get big rewards later. But investing is not always easy or safe. There are also risks. Things can change quickly in emerging markets. Prices go up and down. Politics can be unstable. That's why people talk about market risk and uncertainty. Still, many see these challenges as chances. They say, where there's risk, there's also opportunity. When you hear people use words like instability, growth potential, or investment climate, they're often talking about places like India or Brazil. These are countries that can surprise the world with how fast they grow, but they can also make investors nervous because of sudden changes. In this podcast, we'll explore more about how these markets work, what words and phrases are useful when talking about money, growth, and opportunity, and how English learners like you can speak more clearly and confidently about the world economy, even in everyday conversations. Let's keep going and dive deeper into this fascinating topic. When people talk about emerging markets, they often mention growth. But what does that really mean? Growth in this case means that the economy of a country is getting bigger. More people are working, more companies are making products, and more money is moving around. In simple terms, things are getting better. People are no longer just surviving. They're starting to live more comfortably. They can save money, spend on things they enjoy, and even travel. A big reason for this growth is urbanization. This is when people move from the countryside to the city. In the city, they often find better jobs and higher salaries. They might work in technology, in offices, or in modern factories. When more people earn more money, they start to buy things: better food, clothes, phones, cars. This creates what we call consumer demand. Now imagine millions of people suddenly wanting to buy a phone or a new car. That's a huge opportunity for companies. They rush to these markets to sell their products. And if the economy keeps growing, companies make more money and the country becomes stronger. This is why emerging markets are so exciting for business people. There's a lot of potential, but with opportunity comes risk. One word you should know is turmoil. Turmoil means a time of confusion or disorder. It's when things are unstable. Maybe there's a change in government, a sudden drop in the value of the local money, or a big company closes down. These events can make investors nervous. Let's say you put your money into a company in an emerging market. Then suddenly, that country changes its rules, or the local money loses value. You could lose a lot. That's the danger of market instability. But some people are not afraid. They say that when things are uncertain, there's also a chance to earn more if you're careful and smart. Here's another term to understand: stimulus package. This is when a government gives money to help the economy. For example, if a country is having a hard time, maybe people are losing jobs or businesses are closing, the government might spend money to fix it. They might build new roads, support banks, or give money to families. This spending helps people feel safer and keeps the economy moving. Many countries with emerging markets use stimulus packages to speed up growth. But these actions don't always work. Sometimes they help, sometimes they don't. That's why people who invest in these places have to pay attention to news, government plans, and the overall situation. If you want to talk about these topics in English, it's important to learn how to describe both the good and the bad sides of a market. Words like booming, developing, risky, unstable, fast-growing, and uncertain can help you express ideas clearly. These are useful not just in business, but in daily conversations too, especially when you're talking about travel, jobs, or world news. So while emerging markets are full of exciting possibilities, they also require careful thinking. Understanding this balance between risk and reward can help you grow your English skills and your global knowledge at the same time. One important idea in emerging markets is something called aggregate demand. It may sound complex, but it's not too hard to understand. Let's break it down. The word demand means how much people want to buy things. And aggregate means total or combined. So aggregate demand means the total amount of things that people in a country want to buy: products, services, food, technology, and more. Now, in a rich country, people already have a lot. They may not need to buy a new phone every year or a new car very often. But in an emerging market, many people are buying these things for the first time. Millions of people are moving into the middle class, which means they now have extra money after paying for their basic needs. They can finally start buying better clothes, electronics, or even saving for a home. This growing demand is what makes companies so interested. If you're a company that makes shoes and suddenly 50 million people in a new market want shoes, that's a big opportunity. You can grow your business quickly. And for a country, when businesses grow, the economy gets stronger and life improves for more people. But here's where it gets interesting. When demand rises fast, prices sometimes rise too. That's called inflation. People want more, but there may not be enough to go around. So the price of bread, gasoline, or housing can go up. If prices rise too quickly, it can cause problems. That's why governments and companies have to manage growth carefully. Sometimes a government might try to control inflation by changing the value of its money. This is where the word devalue comes in. To devalue a currency means to reduce its worth compared to other currencies. For example, if $1 used to be equal to 10 units of another currency, and now it's equal to 12, that means the local currency has been devalued. Why would a country do this? Well, it makes their products cheaper for people in other countries. That can help them sell more to the world. But it also means that imported goods, things they buy from other countries, will cost more. So again, it's a balance. It can help in one way, but hurt in another. This kind of economic strategy is common in emerging markets. These countries are still learning how to balance growth, inflation, and global trade. That's part of why these markets can feel unpredictable. For English learners, these are important words to practice. Aggregate demand, inflation, devalue, currency, and imported goods. They're not just for business. You can use them in everyday life too, especially when you're talking about shopping, travel, or the cost of living. When you read the news in English or watch international programs, you'll often hear these terms. Understanding them gives you the power to follow the conversation, ask good questions, and even share your own opinions. Emerging markets may seem far away, but they affect all of us. The prices in your store, the jobs in your city, or the companies you see online. Many are connected to what's happening in these fast-changing places. That's why learning this vocabulary can open up your English and your understanding of the world. When talking about investing, one phrase that often comes up is building a nest egg. This doesn't mean collecting bird eggs. It's actually a way to talk about saving money for the future. A nest egg is money that you save slowly over time. People usually use it for something important like buying a home, starting a business, or retiring one day. In many emerging markets, people are beginning to think more about their financial future. Before, most people didn't have extra money to save. They lived day by day. But now, as more people get better jobs and earn higher incomes, they start saving. They open bank accounts, learn about investing, and try to build their own nest egg. This is a sign that the country is growing economically and people are starting to plan ahead. For someone trying to build a nest egg, investing in stocks, businesses, or property can be one way to grow that money. But investing always comes with risk. That's why we often hear another important word, inevitable. This word means something that will happen no matter what. For example, many people believe that economic ups and downs are inevitable. That means the economy will always go through good times and bad times, again and again. You can't stop it. It's part of how the financial world works. So when someone says a recession is inevitable, they mean that a slowdown in the economy will come sooner or later. It's normal. Smart investors know this and try to prepare for it. They save money when times are good, and they stay calm when times are bad. That's why building a strong nest egg is so important. It gives people safety during hard times. In everyday English, inevitable is a very useful word. You can say, it was inevitable that she would get the job, or it's inevitable that technology will keep changing our lives. Learning how to use this word helps you sound more natural when talking about the future. Now let's talk about another common phrase, hit up. This is a very informal expression. When someone says they want to hit up a person for money, they mean they want to ask them for cash. It's slang. For example, if you say, I'm going to hit up my friend for a loan, you mean you're going to ask your friend to lend you some money. You can also use hit up in a casual way to say you'll contact someone. Like, I'll hit you up later, which means I'll call or message you later. But be careful. This phrase is very informal. You can use it with friends or family, but not in formal situations like business meetings or job interviews. Expressions like nest egg, inevitable, and hit up are not only interesting, they're practical. They help you understand real conversations and express yourself better in English. When you watch movies, listen to songs, or talk with native speakers, you'll hear these kinds of phrases often. Knowing them gives you confidence. In the world of emerging markets, language like this is part of daily life. People talk about saving, asking for help, and facing the ups and downs of money in life. By learning these expressions, you're not just learning English. You're learning how people think and speak about their hopes, fears, and future. In many parts of the world, especially in emerging markets, people are looking for ways to move forward. They want better jobs, better homes, and better lives. But success doesn't come all at once. It takes planning, effort, and a little bit of risk. That's why some people turn to investing. They see it as a smart way to prepare for tomorrow. Investing doesn't always mean buying stocks or starting a company. Sometimes it's about investing in education, skills, or even small personal projects. For example, someone might take a course to learn computer skills or save money to open a tiny shop in their neighborhood. These small steps can lead to big changes over time. In a growing economy, these actions help both the person and the country. But what happens when the future feels uncertain? What if prices are going up, jobs are disappearing, or governments are making sudden decisions? These are real challenges in many emerging markets. This is where strong language skills can help. Being able to talk clearly about risk, value, and change gives you more power to understand what's going on and to make smart choices. Let's look at some useful vocabulary. One key word is instability. This means something is not stable. It keeps changing or is not safe. For example, if a country changes its laws every few months, or if the prices in stores rise and fall quickly, people might say there's too much instability right now. That's a big concern for investors because they don't like surprises. Another helpful term is opportunity. Even when things are unstable, there are often hidden chances to grow. That's why some people say every problem is also an opportunity. In English, this phrase is often used to stay positive during hard times. It means that even when things look bad, you can still find something good if you pay attention. Let's take an example. Imagine a country where a lot of young people are looking for jobs, but there aren't enough companies hiring. At first, this seems like a big problem, but someone might see it as an opportunity to start a business that helps young people find work or teaches them useful skills. This is how opportunity works. It often hides inside of problems. This kind of thinking is especially useful in fast-changing places. Emerging markets move quickly, and people who think creatively can find success. They watch what's happening, listen to what people need, and find smart ways to respond. That's also what good English learners do. They pay attention, ask questions, and keep learning, even when things feel difficult. There's also the idea of long-term thinking. In business and in life, it's easy to focus only on what's happening now. But strong investors, smart leaders, and successful people often ask, what will this look like in 5 or 10 years? They don't just chase quick wins. They build for the future. The same is true for learning English. You might not feel perfect today, but every new word you learn, every sentence you speak, brings you closer to your goals. Just like investing in a new business, learning a language takes time, patience, and belief in yourself. Emerging markets are full of energy and ambition. The people living in these countries are working hard to build something better. They face problems, but they also create solutions. That spirit of growth, risk, and hope is something we can all learn from, no matter where we live or what language we speak. One of the most powerful lessons we can learn from emerging markets is how people grow through change. These countries are not waiting for everything to be perfect before they take action. They are moving forward even when things are uncertain. That's a lesson that can help all of us, not only in business, but in life and in language learning too. When an economy starts to grow, many new things happen. Cities expand, new buildings go up, and technology spreads quickly. But at the same time, problems also grow. Traffic gets worse, pollution increases, and some people get rich faster than others. This shows that growth always comes with responsibility. For a country to become truly strong, it needs not just money, but also good planning, education, and fair opportunities for everyone. That's why communication is so important. Governments, companies, and communities need to talk clearly and honestly. And for people in these markets, learning English often becomes a key step. English is the language of business, science, and international news. Knowing it opens doors to jobs, education, and global ideas. You might not live in an emerging market yourself, but the skills and lessons from these places apply everywhere. When you learn to describe change, to talk about risk and growth, and to express ideas about money, planning, and hope, you're learning more than just vocabulary. You're learning how the world works. Let's review some of the useful expressions and ideas we've explored. Emerging markets, aggregate demand, devalue, turmoil, stimulus package, nest egg, inevitable, instability, and hit up. These are real words used in everyday English when people talk about money, change, and the future. They're not just business terms, they're part of how people talk about life decisions and world events. You can practice them by listening to business news, reading simple articles online, or watching videos with English subtitles. Try to use them when you talk about your own country, your plans, or your opinions. The more you use them, the more natural they will feel. Remember, learning English is not just about grammar and test scores. It's about expressing your ideas clearly, understanding others, and being part of global conversations. Just like the people in fast-growing markets, you don't need to wait until everything is perfect. You can start right now with what you have and grow from there. Keep learning, keep improving, and keep believing in your ability to succeed. The journey is long, but every step matters, and the future you're building is worth it.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. Unavoidable. Inevitable. Money that is saved to pay for something in the future, usually a house or retirement. Nest egg. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. Amount of money the government uses to improve the economy. Stimulus package. State of not being stable, being likely to change. Nations undergoing quick industrialization. Emerging market. Combined. Reduced in value. Devalue. Ask for money. Hit up. Let's try that faster. Unavoidable. Inevitable. Ask for money. Hit up. Amount of money the government uses to improve the economy. Stimulus package. State of not being stable, being likely to change. Money that is saved to pay for something in the future, usually a house or retirement. Nest egg. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. State of not being stable, being likely to change. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. State of not being stable, being likely to change. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. Unavoidable. Inevitable. Reduced in value. Devalue. Nations undergoing quick industrialization. Emerging market. State of not being stable, being likely to change. Nations undergoing quick industrialization. Emerging market. Now say the word and hear it in a sentence. Inevitable. Jason knew he was going to get laid off, but he was trying to delay the inevitable. Nest egg. I invested in the stock market 5 years ago and built a nice nest egg. Turmoil. With a civil war, a famine, and inflation, the country has been in turmoil for 10 years. Emerging market. Demand for luxury goods is growing quickly in emerging markets like China. Devalue. The currency has been devalued by nearly 40%. Hit up. I'm going to hit up the boss for a raise. Inevitable. Jason knew he was going to get laid off, but he was trying to delay the inevitable. Emerging market. Demand for luxury goods is growing quickly in emerging markets like China. Devalue. The currency has been devalued by nearly 40%. Hit up. I'm going to hit up the boss for a raise.
Emerging markets. It's not always easy to understand what's happening in the world of business and finance, especially when we hear words like recession, emerging markets, or stimulus packages. But these are the kinds of topics that can affect our everyday lives, even if we're not investors or economists. Today, I want to take you on a journey into one of the most interesting ideas in the financial world, the rise of emerging markets. These are countries whose economies are growing fast and becoming more important in global trade and investment. And believe it or not, understanding this topic can also help you improve your English. Let me tell you a story, something that might sound simple, but actually has a lot of depth. Imagine a young man, maybe just out of college. He's ambitious, full of ideas, and wants to start his financial journey. He doesn't want to wait until he's 40 to think about his future. He's been reading news articles, watching videos, and listening to financial podcasts. Everywhere he turns, people are talking about the same thing: economic instability, inflation, layoffs, and fear. Most people are saving money under their mattress, trying to stay safe. But not him. He sees opportunity. He believes that when others are afraid, it might be the best time to act. While others are focused on the risks, he's focused on the potential. He wants to start building his nest egg. That's a common phrase we use in English to describe money saved for the future. It might be for retirement, buying a home, or starting a business. Whatever the goal is, having a nest egg is about planning ahead. But here's the thing. He's not looking to invest in his own country. He's more interested in what's happening in other parts of the world. Places like China, India, Brazil, countries that are growing fast. These are what we call emerging markets. They're not rich yet, but they're moving in that direction. In many of these countries, millions of people are moving into the middle class, buying more products, and creating new demand for goods and services. In simple terms, the economy is expanding, and that creates new chances for businesses and investors. Of course, there are risks too. Emerging markets can be unstable. There might be political problems, changes in government policy, or economic difficulties. For example, the value of their money or currency can change suddenly. This is called devaluation, and it can have a big impact on investments. Still, the young man believed that challenges also bring opportunity. He understands that no investment is 100% safe, but if he studies carefully and thinks long-term, he might be able to grow his savings faster than he could at home. In English, there's another phrase we often use: every challenge is an opportunity. That's exactly how he sees the current moment. While others are focused on fear and uncertainty, words like turmoil and instability, he's focused on growth potential in the future. He believes that this is his chance to get a head start, to do something bold, and to take control of his financial life. So he sits down, opens his laptop, and begins to make a plan. He reads about different countries. He looks at how their economies are performing. He checks the population, the level of education, the technology, the political climate. He wants to make smart decisions, not just emotional ones. And he's just getting started. He starts by looking deeper into China. It's a country with over 1.4 billion people, and nearly 500 million of them have recently entered the middle class. That means more people are earning steady incomes, spending money, and improving their lifestyles. This growth in consumer power creates something called aggregate demand. That phrase may sound complex, but it's simple. It just means the total demand for goods and services in an economy. When more people buy things like phones, clothes, cars, and even luxury items, companies grow, and the economy gets stronger. The young man is fascinated by this. He thinks, if more people in China want smartphones, then smartphone companies might grow fast. If more people buy online, then e-commerce businesses might make big profits. Maybe I can invest in those companies and grow my money too. But he doesn't stop with China. He studies India. He sees that India also has a huge population and a growing tech industry. He reads about Brazil, a country with rich natural resources, and Indonesia, a place where digital banking is becoming popular. These countries might be risky, yes, but they're full of potential. Still, he knows he has to be careful. Investing without a plan is like walking in a storm without an umbrella. There's too much uncertainty. One day, the market is up. The next day, it's down. This kind of situation is called market turmoil. It's a word that means confusion, chaos, and rapid change. When people hear that the market is in turmoil, they often panic. They stop investing, they pull out their money, and they try to avoid any risk. But our young investor isn't like that. He understands that if he waits for the perfect moment, he might wait forever. Instead, he focuses on strategy. He decides to invest small amounts at first. He also makes sure to diversify, another useful word in English. To diversify means to spread your investments across different areas, so that if one goes down, the others might still do well. He doesn't put all his eggs in one basket, as the saying goes. He also begins to understand another important concept, the stimulus package. When economies are weak or facing a slowdown, governments often introduce large financial plans to boost growth. A stimulus package usually involves spending government money to support businesses, build infrastructure, or give cash to citizens. These actions can help restart the economy and restore confidence. But stimulus packages don't always work the same way in every country. In developed countries, they might be large and fast. In emerging markets, they might take longer to show results. This is why the young man knows he must stay informed. He reads financial news every day, listens to market experts, and watches what central banks and government leaders are doing. Every article he reads adds to his understanding. Every new phrase he learns, like inevitable recession or currency devaluation, makes him more confident. He's not just learning about investing. He's also improving his English. He's discovering new vocabulary, understanding real-life expressions, and connecting language with the real world. For him, this isn't just about money. It's about growth in every sense. He wants to become someone who doesn't fear change, who doesn't run from problems, and who sees the big picture even when the world feels uncertain. And he knows that the journey has only just begun. One evening, as he sits at his desk, looking over charts and articles, he starts to feel a bit overwhelmed. The numbers, the news, the expert opinions, they can all become too much sometimes. He realizes that investing, especially in emerging markets, is not just about knowledge. It's also about mindset. Staying calm during market swings, avoiding emotional decisions, and being patient. These are just as important as understanding interest rates or reading a financial report. He remembers a phrase he heard in a podcast. Don't try to time the market. Time in the market is what matters. That means instead of trying to guess the perfect moment to invest, it's better to stay invested over a longer period. The longer you stay in, the more chances you have to grow your money, even if there are ups and downs along the way. So, he starts setting some personal rules. He writes them down in a notebook. Start small, but start now. Invest regularly, not randomly. Learn something new every week. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Keep emotions out of your decisions. These simple rules give him confidence. He knows he won't always get it right, but he also knows that taking smart steps today can build a better tomorrow. Still, he faces another challenge. Not everyone supports his ideas. His father, for example, is very traditional when it comes to money. He believes in saving, not investing. He prefers safety over risk. Whenever the topic of emerging markets comes up, he quickly changes the subject. He worries about things like inflation, job losses, and unstable currencies. He often uses words like risky, dangerous, or unpredictable. At first, this makes a young man doubt himself. He wonders, am I being too bold? Maybe my father is right. Maybe I should wait. But then he reminds himself why he started. He wants to build something. He doesn't want to just follow the old way of doing things. He wants to prepare for the future, one that is changing fast, one that demands new skills and new thinking. So he continues, but more carefully now. He starts using simulation apps to test investments without using real money. He reads beginner guides on economic cycles, interest rates, and market corrections. He listens to interviews with economists who explain things in simple, practical terms. Bit by bit, his understanding grows. He also starts paying attention to the little signals that many people miss. For example, he notices how tech companies are opening offices in developing countries. He sees how international brands are creating products specifically for new middle-class consumers in Asia and South America. These trends show that big businesses are also betting on emerging markets. And if they believe in the future of these places, maybe he's not so crazy after all. Along the way, he also learns new phrases and idioms. One of his favorites is hit up, which means to ask someone for money in a casual way. He laughs as he remembers a moment when he jokingly said to his sister, "I might hit up Mom for some investment cash." It's a funny expression and a bit informal, but it helps him feel more connected to the language. He realizes that learning English through real-world topics like investing is more effective and more interesting than just memorizing words from a textbook. Now, every day feels like progress. He's not just planning for a better financial future. He's also becoming a better English speaker. And that, too, is a kind of investment. After several weeks of learning, testing, and thinking carefully, he decides it's time to take his first real step. Not a big one, just a small investment in a company that operates in multiple emerging markets. It's a company that sells basic household products, things people need no matter where they live. Soap, toothpaste, and cleaning supplies. These kind of products are always in demand, and he thinks that's a smart place to begin. He opens an online investment account. The process takes a few days, and at first, the forms and technical terms confuse him. He sees words like portfolio, dividends, risk tolerance, and liquidity. Instead of guessing, he writes them down and looks them up. Each new word becomes part of his vocabulary. Every new concept he learns makes him more confident. Finally, the day comes. He buys his first shares. It's not a huge amount, but it's meaningful. It represents more than money. It's a symbol of his growth, his learning, and his courage. After clicking buy, he feels a wave of excitement. Then, almost immediately, he feels nervous. What if the stock drops tomorrow? What if he made a mistake? But then he breathes deeply. He remembers the bigger picture. He's not here for quick profits. He's here to build, to learn, and to keep moving forward. Over the next few weeks, he follows the company's performance. He reads its financial news, follows how it responds to changes in the global economy, and even watches interviews with its CEO. Slowly, he begins to see how all the pieces connect, how politics, currency exchange rates, consumer behavior, and global trade all play a role. At the same time, he keeps studying other emerging markets. He discovers that not all of them are growing in the same way. Some are building strong manufacturing industries. Others are becoming leaders in digital technology or clean energy. He also sees that some countries have serious problems: corruption, weak legal systems, or political instability. These are real risks, and he knows he has to be smart about where he puts his money. One day, he read an article that talked about devaluation in a small country's currency. The value of that money dropped quickly, and foreign investors lost millions. This reminds him of something important. In emerging markets, things can change fast. Currency devaluation can make it harder for companies to import goods or repay debts. It can also reduce the value of profits when converted back to US dollars or euros. But instead of feeling scared, he feels prepared. He now understands what devaluation means. He knows how to look at economic indicators, how to read trends, and how to ask the right questions before making a decision. He also begins writing a short blog, nothing fancy, just a personal journal where he explains what he's learning in simple English. His goal is to teach others while improving his own skills. He writes about words like turmoil, stimulus package, and aggregate demand, explaining them with examples from real life. People begin to comment. Some are fellow English learners. Some are beginner investors. They ask questions, share ideas, and thank him for making complicated topics easier to understand. Through this, he finds something unexpected. Teaching helps him learn even more. When he explains a phrase like inevitable recession or hit up for cash, he remembers it better. He uses it naturally. His English becomes smoother, more fluent, more real. Now, his journey is more than personal. He's building a small community, sharing knowledge, and becoming a voice of clarity in a noisy world. And he's just getting started. Months pass, and with each step, his confidence grows. His investment hasn't made him rich, but it's growing slowly and steadily. More importantly, he's built a system, a habit of learning, tracking, and thinking critically. He now understands the basic rhythm of the market, how emotions often drive prices more than facts, how fear and greed play tug-of-war on investor behavior, and how patience usually wins in the end. He notices how headlines often use strong, emotional words like crash, turmoil, panic, or boom. At first, he used to react quickly when he saw these words. Now, he reads more calmly, checking the actual data behind the noise. He knows that bad news gets clicks, but smart decisions come from clear thinking. One day, he hears about a political crisis in one of the countries he's been studying. The local currency falls. The market reacts. Stocks drop suddenly. Many investors sell in fear, but he pauses. He reviews the facts. He asks himself, is this a long-term problem or just a short-term shock? After some research, he realizes that the company he invested in is not deeply affected by the crisis. It continues operating. It continues selling. So instead of selling his shares in a panic, he holds them. This is one of his biggest lessons. Don't let emotions take over your decisions. Another day, he comes across a news report about a new stimulus package in a major emerging economy. The government is planning to spend billions on public transportation, digital infrastructure, and energy projects. He smiles. He remembers the meaning of that phrase, stimulus package. It's money the government uses to support the economy, especially during difficult times. These actions can boost growth, create jobs, and increase consumer confidence. He also understands that this kind of government spending might benefit specific industries. He reads more about companies that build infrastructure or supply materials. He doesn't rush to invest, but he adds a few new names to his watch list. He's now using English not only to learn about the world, but to participate in it. When he reads articles or watches videos, he pays attention to how words are used in context. He writes down useful phrases like economic downturn, building a nest egg, or market instability. These are expressions people use in real life, at work, on the news, in meetings. They are the language of the modern world. He even starts practicing aloud. He picks a news article, reads it carefully, and then explains it in his own words. This helps both his vocabulary and his speaking skills. He records himself, listens back, and improves. It's not always easy, but it's rewarding. By now, he's no longer the uncertain beginner who once clicked by with shaking hands. He's thoughtful, curious, and steady. He knows he still has a lot to learn about markets, about language, about life. But he also knows he's on the right path. And perhaps the most valuable lesson he's learned is this: growth, whether financial or personal, comes from doing small, smart things every day. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to be consistent. Keep learning. Keep trying. Keep building. There comes a moment when he looks back at how far he's come. It's not about the money he's made or the new words he's learned. It's about the transformation, the quiet confidence he now carries. He's no longer just a student of English or beginner in investing. He's someone who takes initiative, who finds patterns in complexity, and who knows how to ask the right questions. He now sees investing as more than just buying and selling. It's about understanding people, behaviors, cultures, and systems. It's about seeing how one event in one part of the world can affect markets in another. He begins to think globally, but also practically. For example, when he reads that millions of people in Southeast Asia are opening their first bank accounts through mobile apps, he sees more than just a headline. He sees a trend, an opportunity, and a shift in financial behavior. That's how real investors think, and how real English learners grow. They don't just memorize facts. They connect them to the real world. He also understands the importance of failure. Not every choice he made was perfect. He did lose some money on one early investment. But instead of quitting, he studied what went wrong. He read expert analysis, reviewed his decisions, and made changes. He learned the true meaning of another valuable phrase. Every mistake is a lesson in disguise. And through all of this, his English has evolved naturally, not from memorizing long vocabulary lists, but by using English in real situations, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. He now knows that learning a language is not about being perfect. It's about expressing ideas clearly, understanding others, and staying curious. He continues to blog in English, but now his posts are more thoughtful and clear. He gets messages from people around the world. Learners like him try to improve their lives. Some ask for advice. Some share their own journeys. These connections remind him that learning is not a race. It's a community, a movement, a lifelong habit. Looking ahead, he's excited, not just about money or markets, but about how much more there is to learn. New technologies, new regions, new opportunities, all waiting to be explored. And with each new discovery, he knows he'll grow just a little more. His journey isn't over. In fact, it's only just begun. But now he walks with purpose, with knowledge, with courage, and with the language he once feared, now fully part of his voice.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. Unavoidable. Inevitable. Money that is saved to pay for something in the future, usually a house or retirement. Nest egg. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. Amount of money the government uses to improve the economy. Stimulus package. State of not being stable, being likely to change. Nations undergoing quick industrialization. Emerging market. Combined. Reduced in value. Devalue. Ask for money. Hit up. Let's try that faster. Unavoidable. Inevitable. Ask for money. Hit up. Amount of money the government uses to improve the economy. Stimulus package. State of not being stable, being likely to change. Money that is saved to pay for something in the future, usually a house or retirement. Nest egg. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. State of not being stable, being likely to change. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. State of not being stable, being likely to change. A state of confusion, disorder, disturbance. Turmoil. Unavoidable. Inevitable. Reduced in value. Devalue. Nations undergoing quick industrialization. Emerging market. State of not being stable, being likely to change. Nations undergoing quick industrialization. Emerging market. Now say the word and hear it in a sentence. Inevitable. Jason knew he was going to get laid off, but he was trying to delay the inevitable. Nest egg. I invested in the stock market 5 years ago and built a nice nest egg. Turmoil. With a civil war, a famine, and inflation, the country has been in turmoil for 10 years. Emerging market. Demand for luxury goods is growing quickly in emerging markets like China. Devalue. The currency has been devalued by nearly 40%. Hit up. I'm going to hit up the boss for a raise. Inevitable. Jason knew he was going to get laid off, but he was trying to delay the inevitable. Emerging market. Demand for luxury goods is growing quickly in emerging markets like China. Devalue. The currency has been devalued by nearly 40%. Hit up. I'm going to hit up the boss for a raise.